I'm a research entomologist of Institute of Zoology of National Ukrainian Academy of Sciences in Kiev, Ukraine. And today I will continue to read the article about entomology in modern. And actually, this is the second part about entomological equipment, about entomological supplies in Japan. And this article actually was written by Akita Kawahara, American entomologist with Japanese origin. And I found that this is in ResearchGate social network. And I will be very pleased to read it just for educational purposes, because it's quite interesting to know more about culture, about traditions, and about entomological equipment as well. So if you are following to me on my channel, okay, just join me and I will check how it's going on my internet. Well, despite I recharged my telephone now I will be able to continue my second part of introduction about entomological equipment, about entomological supplies in Japan. Well, what's about entomological supplies? Every parent in Japan has the availability to find very nice entomological equipment in department stores. For example, the father of the author of this article said that his father was regularly coming to Japanese department store and buying different nice entomological equipment. So, and I agree that many of entomological supplies are really very well developed, and accessibility is great, so you can learn not only about collecting insects, but also how to store insects and how to study them. Well, for example, his father bought a net and the equipment in the story and brought back the memories and also his remembering a bit about his childhood experience about rearing a popular need butterfly, very common butterfly, Lucidorphia japonica. And of course, every children who has a just attraction to the nature can be captivated by nice entomological equipment, especially produced in Japan. And the author also fascinated with collecting anything which moved. Other entomological supplies and insect shop quickly followed after that. During elementary school, the author learned that Japanese supply companies was distributing their products to department stores, making it easier for general public to purchase entomological products. For example, the company is named Shiga Kontu, one of the oldest Japanese entomological supply companies, once opened in 1931, nearly 90 years old company. Shiga Kontu company is located in central Tokyo and sells entomological supplies such as vials, forceps, drawers, nets, spreading boards, envelopes, in addition to entomological literature and dried specimens. The owner of the store in 2007 was 103 years old Mr. Yusuke Shiga, who perfected his equipment over the years to meet the needs of many Japanese entomologists. Although the owner, Mr. Yusuke Shiga, doesn't manage the store anymore, he still occasionally visited the department stores in 2007. And his career as entomological supplier is discussed in his specially published autobiography. Japanese collecting equipment is fairly standardized, and most Japanese entomologists use similar equipment. Japanese lepidopterists and odontologists typically go to use rectangular envelopes, but instead using triangular ones, mainly because triangular carrying cases are available. These triangular cases made of metal and hard leather protect papered specimens in the field. The case can hold over 100 envelopes and can be tied to a string and carried around the neck or attached to the waist belt. Triangular boxes allow the collector to paper specimens quickly in the field, and some triangular boxes have additional straps to hold killing jars. There are three general types of Japanese telescopic net shafts: aluminium, bamboo, and graphite. This comes in various lengths, ring diameters, cloth materials, and colors. Most net parts are interchangeable, and different nets colors are supposedly better suited for collecting different insects. According to a saleswoman at Shiga Kontu shop, dragonfly collectors prefer black, green, and red nets, while blue nets are preferred by collectors after amorphous butterflies and particular papillonid butterflies. The standard Japanese aluminium telescopic net, this is not Japanese, this is Ukrainian net, more simple rather than so well-developed Japanese net. The standard Japanese aluminium telescopic net costed about 6,000 Japanese yen, or around $50 American. And this net is light, flexible, and can easily fold and fit into one's backpack. Easy to carry it in the field. Nearly all insect enthusiasts in Japan have on one of these nets, regardless of the kind of insects they study. Unfortunately, these nets are not available through other entomological suppliers like BioQuip and other suppliers in the United States and in other countries as well. So but maybe now it's possible to buy it through Amazon shop, through internet. Well, now it's much easier. There are also very long telescopic extension nets, which can be nearly 30 feet, so more than 3 meters, about 3 meters, which are great to collecting canopy insects in the tropics. Japanese entomologists generally use Shiga stainless steel insect pins for specimens in their collections, and these pins is produced from stainless, very, very high quality. These pins differ from typical Western pins in that they are slightly longer and not have a large bedded head. Well, that's right. Pins range from size 30 to 6, and they are small-headed and non-headed. Non-headed pins are often used for photography, so for that the body of insect is not obscured by the pinhead. Pins comes in sets of 100, and each pack is approximately costed 250 or 400 Japanese yen, so it's cost from $2 American to $3.30 American. Small, very tiny pins, minutants, are also available through Shiga company, but Shiga only sells one size, and they are longer than those sold in Europe and North America. Numerous Japanese entomological supply companies sell spreading boards, but the best boards are made by Art Inabaya Company, located in Tottori Prefecture. As with other Japanese spreading boards, Inabaya boards come in different widths, and some are slightly angled to prevent wind stacking. Inabaya Company boards are a bit pricey, ranging from $14 to $30 American per board, but were carefully crafted and reliable. Nearly all Japanese spreading boards are made from the soft wood of a princess tree or Paulownia tomentosa. Each of these boards is built to fit securely into the spreading board's carrying case that allows drying specimens to be transported on boards without damage. Also available are cork boards for spreading legs of a Coleoptera and Hemiptera, and adjustable spreading boards on which the gap between the boards can be set to match the width of a insect's body. Dried insect specimens are typically stored in large black display cases with a foam bottom or smaller boxes made of cardboard or wood with a cork bottom. Some collectors have begun using unit trays for their collection, but unit trays are relatively new in Japan, and many collectors still pin insects directly into the foam bottom on display cases. Standard Japanese black display cases are slightly larger than American Cornwell drawers, and the lid of the drawer is much tighter than those sold in the United States. Lids are handcrafted to fit very tightly to prevent beetles' dermestids and moisture from entering. Humidity in central Japan is very high during the summer and really dropping below 800% even in sunny days. Some Japanese lepidopterists will refuse to open their drawers containing dried specimens on a rainy day in fear that their wings will permanently droop. Other entomologists even store their drawers containing Lepidoptera upside down to prevent wind sagging of Lepidoptera. Many tools are available for spreading and preparing specimens because specimens presentation is considered very important in Japan. Regardless of a taxonomical group, specimens in personal collections are usually spread with tremendous amount of care. For example, most Japanese coleopterists will spread antennae and every leg so that the specimen is perfectly symmetrical. In fact, while being in Japan, I have never heard of field pinning. It wasn't until general entomological course I learned about this technique, pinning in the field. The beauty of insect and the art of insect presentation is particularly important in Japanese personal insect collection. Well, and this chapter is named Personal Insect Collections, Publications and Conservation. The availability of insect collecting equipment and supplies allows many Japanese insect hobbyists to make personal collections. There are thousands of personal insect collections throughout Japan, and each kept in a private collector's small home. Most insect collectors are interested in Macrolepidoptera or charismatic beetles. These are typically Carabita beetles, longhorn beetles, Cerambicida beetles, Lucanidae or Scarabiidae. These beetles are few who collect the most important, and there are a few of entomologists and amateurs who collect other groups of insects such as Diptera and Hemiptera, but these collectors are of a considerable minority. Regardless to taxonomical group, most insect collectors take entomology very seriously and they self-train themselves in systematics and taxonomy. Many famous Japanese insect and taxonomists are not affiliated with university but work with their home. They publish their findings regularly in Japanese journals and may publish many books on natural history, many of which will include spectacular color photos. Almost all collectors treat entomology as hobby because insects don't provide a means for the financial support. For exception, we will talk about section named Beetle Mania. Financial support for most non-institutional Japanese entomologists comes from the full-time job which is unrelated to entomology. For example, some colleagues has competitors in which one of my friends and colleagues has competitors in his tiny attic in Tokyo, and he's storing over 10,000 specimens of butterflies. But he's working as a salesperson and sells electronic household appliances as his profession. Many entomologists are eager to retire, as vacation days are limited for many full-time jobs in Japan. As soon as Japanese entomologists retire from their non-Japanese, non-entomological occupation, they will often devote their time to documenting insect life histories or for collecting other insect taxa which are not represented in their own private collections. Charismatic Japanese insects are well studied, mainly because of the deep public interest in entomology. For example, there are approximately 230 species of native Japanese butterflies, as reported in literature, and there are more than 50 books of Japanese butterflies about Japanese butterflies. While most are illustrated, some insect shop Zukan named Zukan for both children and insects. Some books are guidebooks for collecting particular insects such as butterflies. For example, one of such books is Toyo no Saishu Mapu, which is translated as Collecting Map for Butterflies. For example, author says, when he was a child, his father bought this book of Collecting Map for Butterflies, and during the summer, they took a 3-4 hour train ride till the 4 a.m. and every Sunday to look for particular species included in this butterfly treasure map. On one occasion, the author came to look for Favonius yasai, a very nice butterfly, a relatively rare Ticlini butterfly, which is flying in the canopy. When we arrived to locality, we were shocked to discover over 10 lepidopterists with their 30-foot extension poles lining up against the forest just after dawn. The scene reminded me of a line of trout fishermen alongside a stream in upstate New York. So lepidopterists were like a fisherman fishing, but not for fish, but for butterflies. These lepidopterists were staring into the canopy, waiting for the morning flight on the drab brown licenid. When the author was the author was the luckiest 8-year-old entomologist, because while the collectors were diligently looking upstairs into the canopy, the female of this species, Favonius yasai, landed on the low branch of a few steps in front of the author, and it started raining heavily in a few minutes later, and the author was very lucky to catch just one specimen and he has collected this nice butterfly. Butterflies are not the only insects which are very popular for fanatic Japanese collectors. For example, entomologist Ikeda in 1999 discussed the crazy entomology surrounding particular Japanese cerambycid beetles. He reported that during the few weeks when tiny long-winged cerambycids on the genus Nesidalis, when the tiny listening beetle Nesidalis, genus name, are active. Collectors travel hundreds of miles early in the morning to stake out flowering trees that are known within the Cerambycid community to be longhorn magnets, because they are attracting a lot of these longhorn beetles. Japanese entomologist Akita mentions that some collectors will sit in the tree for more than 3 hours during the morning in the attempt to collect one specimen of a rare Nesidalis longhorn beetle. Speaking from experience, he stated that one of the biggest problems is having to use Veratron while sitting in the tree. If he climbs down, he risks losing his spot to the many collectors waiting below, because the spot just attracted other entomologists for collecting. Many Japanese entomologists have shifted their interest from native Japanese insects to those which are foreign and, for example, can be collected in other countries. A switch often takes place once the collector has acquired most of the focal Japanese taxa of interest and 6 foreign species, because most Japanese charismatic insects are well studied and there are relatively few discoveries to be made. Popular foreign countries among Japanese collectors are those who are geographically close to Japan for sure, such as China, Russia, Taiwan, Philippines. As they are done for Japan, Japanese insect collectors have contributed significantly for furthering the understanding of insects from these neighboring countries, as new entomological findings are regularly published in Japanese and foreign entomological publications. There are, however, particular problems with the abundance of Japanese private collections. One problem is that entomologists with private collections are sometimes unwilling to deposit scientifically valuable specimens in museums, because specimens are treated as treasure of a collector. For example, type specimens are occasionally sold and traded. So far, for example, some Japanese collectors created a paratype series of over 50 specimens so that he can make a personal profit for that. Another problem is over-collecting. Many private insect collectors don't have official collecting permits for neighboring countries, primarily because it's very difficult for private collectors to obtain them. Several Asian countries have recently enforced strict regulations against Japanese insect collectors in fear of populations becoming extirpated, completely destroyed. Although many discoveries are published and properly reported, insect specimens are almost going away and put into private Japanese collections, and only occasionally there are voucher specimens deposited in the country from which it is collected. In Japan, insects can be readily collected without a permit in most places, outside of national parks and restricted areas. In order to prevent over-collecting of rare specimens, Japanese national and local government have enforced regulations against collecting particular species of insect. Governments have recognized some species and localized populations as national monumental fins, in Japanese tenet, kinenbuto. It is illegal to collect species that have been labeled as tenet kinenbuto, or, as I said, national monumental fins, anywhere in Japan. Accordingly to Japanese Integrated Biodiversity Information System, 66 of 30,000 or so described Japanese insects are currently listed to be endangered. Most of these are butterflies, beetles, and dragonflies. 2 insects are listed to extinct, both carabid beetles, and this is Racanthotrechus elegans and Ishikawa Trechus intermedius, described by Japanese entomologist Ueno. Unfortunately, proper management plans have not been implemented for many of these species or population in most of a place of distribution, and many species have declined even in the absence of collecting pressure, just because of changing of the environment. Development and destruction of natural habitat in the primary is a primary cause of decline insects in the number of, especially for particular Japanese insect species. There have been many local efforts to convert and protect such species, and these efforts are often organized by insect collectors themselves. For example, the Lepidopterological Society of Japan, the organization of lepidopterists, who are mainly collectors, held special symposiums and published a multi-volume series documenting the decline in conservation needs for particularly endangered Japanese species of butterflies. Successful conservation efforts for butterflies can be attributed to maintenance of natural habitat rather than formal prohibition of collecting. And the society has urged governments to restore natural habitat, which is really great. Restoration efforts for insects often involve local Japanese residents. For example, in Shizuoka Prefecture, the Japan national butterfly, Sasaki Haronda, has become increasingly rare in recent years, and some local towns are planning its larval food planting its larval food plant in and around the city. Local elementary schools help plant these trees and annually release captive bred adults of these butterflies. As a result, population of this species, Sasaki Haronda in Shizuoka, have become thriving, as it was reported in 2000. There have been similar efforts to restore habitat for declining population of dragonflies. A dragonfly pond restoration program was recently created, and there are now between 500 to 1,000 artificial ponds in for dragonflies in Japan. There are also regional beetle conservation programs which focus on stag beetles and involve aid from local children. Japanese collectors, breeders, and conservationists can readily publish their findings in any of the 50 or so Japanese journals on entomology which circulate in the country, roughly the size of Montana. In the United States, for example, there are many regional and international entomological journals, and each journal publishes papers for different entomological audience as well. The same situation in Japan, many regional and integrated international entomological journals. While many peer-reviewed Japanese journals publish scientific research papers only, others are written for broader community of insects enthusiasts. There are also journals which bridge the gaps between hobbyists and professionals, and these journals including articles written for both. One such journal is Gekkan Mushi, published by Mushisha, which is my main office and entomological supply store in Nakano, Tokyo. This journal, which is named Gekkan Mushi, publishes articles on all aspects of entomology and colors, but in Japanese. And like many other Japanese journals, there are no page charges. In order to finance page costs, Japanese journals typically charge a higher price for membership than in other countries like United States. Approximately, the annual charge is $100 annual for Hekan Mushi. To displace the high membership fee, some journals have special deals in which the fee can be reduced if a subscriber has multiple accepted papers to the journal in a given year. Japan also has some extremely specialized journals which don't have counterparts, for example, in the United States. For example, the journal TINER is a journal published by Japan Heteroceros Society, or devoted to Lepidoptera, butterflies, which specializes in moths. And journal Rostrea is a journal on Hemiptera, or bugs, and published by Hemipterological Society of Japan. In earliest years, in 1990s, there was even a journal called Donatsiist, which published articles solely on aquatic rhizomelid beetles. All the journals issue can also be purchased directly from publishers or throughout used bookstores that specialize in natural history. For two examples, such as bookstores now on internet, this is Nature Book.net, formerly known as the Bauer and Sato Company, Bauer and Sato Japan Company, and other companies, Nan-Yodo Company, Nan-Yodo.net, so insectbook.com website. The Hokkaido-based Nan-Yodo Company carries new and old Japanese entomological literature, much of which is quite rare. In addition to old entomological books, these bookstores sell also recent popular publications such as books on breeding pet beetles. Well, so this is my part about Japanese entomological books, Japanese entomological equipment, and the third part of this stream will be devoted to Japanese beetle mania. So let's stay online, let's stay on stream, and I will continue with my story as far as you are my subscriber, you are my follower, and I'm inviting other people to come to my channel, to subscribe, to press like and write your comments. And third part about beetle mania in Japan is coming after this chapter. Thank you for watching. This was me, Viktor Fursov, Dr. Viktor Fursov, a research entomologist of Ukrainian Institute of Zoology of National Ukrainian Academy of Science in Kyiv, Ukraine. Thank you for watching. Press like and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Best greetings from Kyiv, the capital of Ukraine. Bye-bye.